Hi everyone, this is Sabrina. I'm here to attempt a process video on how I've been making my some layered rosettes, layered crepe paper rosettes. A lot of times I will watch videos on different projects, like projects I wouldn't normally do, and get different ideas on how to apply. Like I'll apply something that someone is doing on a totally different project and I'll be able to apply it to something that I'm doing. So I'm going to attempt this process video in hopes of giving you maybe some ideas or little nuggets for you to try with your rosettes or with something else. I did see this, I got this process is from Finch, and I'll link her video in the description box below. So this was actually her process, and then I adapted it for what I was doing. So in Tara's video, she gets her crepe paper and she sews it, and I'm going to attempt to actually go through the whole process, but you can watch her tutorial, which is a very good tutorial. So instead of, I've seen people, take the crepe paper and kind of pleat it, they pleat it all around and then glue it. For me personally, that's just, it's too fidgety. Some things are too tedious for me, and some things are not. So this, for me, it's not too fidgety or too tedious, and the outcome of it works well. So I don't mind fidgeting with something that I get the result that I want. So, okay, I'm going to attempt to show you my process. So you can watch Tara's video. She'll take the crepe paper and she cuts it to a certain length, and then she does the sewing. So I wanted my rosettes to be a little bit more dimensional. I always say how much I like dimension. So I go 3. This is a regular Tim Holtz ruler, so you get a regular 1-foot ruler, and I go 1, 2, 3, and I hope I'm in frame, guys. Like I said, this is my first attempt actually at a process video. So 1, 2, 3, I just do it around the ruler to try to assure that I have at least 12 inches, and then I snip the edges off. Snip. So I end up with my 1, 2, 3 strips of crepe paper. Then I get the needle, and this process, as I saw Tara Finch do it, I'm comfortable with it because I was actually using the same process to make these these little ribbon flowers that I made these so that I can put them on the headbands that I was making for my granddaughter, and it's the same process. So I thread my needle. I do not tie a knot or anything at the end. I just thread the needle. I take my 3 strips of crepe paper, and I let the needle and the thread do the work for me. So it's the same sort of pleating action, but I do it onto the needle. So I put the needle in, and I don't know if you can see, but I kind of pleat the paper onto the needle. It's that same up and down motion, but the needle is doing the work for me. So I go up and down along one edge of the strips. Now I can never keep it straight. My strips come apart. Sometimes I have to stop and kind of reset them. I'm using a long needle, but you don't have to. You can pull it through. I do not pull it through all the way because you need to leave a tail at the end, and you'll see why, so that you can pull and tie it at the end. So I leave my tail there. And you continue to pleat all the way to the end of your strip of crepe paper. And I hope you guys can see. So again, I'm just pleating all the way to the end, up and down. I'll squish it together every so often. And I have a long needle, so you see how much I can put on the needle, but it doesn't matter if you have a long or a short needle. Okay, so all the way to the end, I squeeze a little bit, then I pull it through. And you can see that as you pull it through, you can see it squeezing together. So I'll pull this and leave a small tail, and then you just tie. I don't even cut it. I just tie my two ends together. So I have this piece of tail and then the other side, and I tie it together. Sometimes I can tie it where the hole will close, and this time it worked, that the center hole will close. Sometimes I don't get it to close all the way, but generally I do. So I tie, and then I tie it 3 times just for the sake of feeling like it's secure and it's not going to come out. So that's 3 times, and then you snip off close, you snip off these little edges. Then I kind of, you work with it a little bit. So the needle and the thread did the pleating, it did the work for me, and once it's tied, it's secure. Now you can leave this as it is. I've used these like this. You kind of, I didn't bring my glue to the table. Okay, so I'll glue the ends here together. And then separate your layers. So rather than the one, it gives it just a little bit more fluffiness, or rather dimension. So you can use that as it is, but for me, a lot of times when I'm sewing and after I glue it, my edges weren't straight. And yes, you can cut. I've seen people do it freehand. For me, it doesn't work well because I'll cut and then it'll be uneven, and I'll keep cutting and cutting and cutting, and then I won't have any rosette left. So after I do this process, for me, what works really well is I take my my dies. I'll take a circle die. I'm using the Stampin' Up layering circles, and I like using the scalloped circles. So I'll take the die, and I really like this process because I can make it whatever size I want it to be. So I can take this rosette, and if I want it smaller or I want it teeny tiny, I can take whatever size of die I want and make the rosette that size. But I'll take it, I'll position the center in the center of the die, and I'll run it through my Big Shot. And I end up with, what did I do with my pieces? Okay, hold on. I'll end up with this. So I'll run it through the Big Shot, and as you see, it's super flat. Take this one as well. So I just pull them, pull it apart. Now the inside, the thread is tied so tight, so I can still pull it apart and it's still pleated. And as I'm pulling, I can see my layers where I can separate the layers. And so like this is the little fidgety part, but you know, once you pull it and you see the layers, you can just separate them. And I think this one, apparently I only had 2 layers on this one. Yeah, I only had 2 layers on this one. I prefer 3 because for me, you know, it makes it, I like the dimension and I like how fluffy it comes out. Again, I'm just separating, like pulling it to separate. And this one, I hadn't glued this one. And then just separate my layers. Separate the layers. Okay. Oh, I ripped it a little bit. I'm trying to rush and I'm being heavy-handed, but so there. Now I have all my layers. And like I said, for me, I like the fact that I can get it uniform all the way around, and I can choose, you know, I can choose what size whatever size I need for it to be. So then I took tulle and I did the exact same thing with the tulle. I cut a strip of tulle on one side of that strip. I threaded the needle, I pleated it, and especially with tulle, I don't cut around evenly, so I put the dye on the tulle and I just run it through my Big Shot. I don't know if you can see it. I can't see it very well, but so it comes out nice and uniform and even, and I can, here's a smaller one. I can choose the size that I want. And for me, it's worth it in the end that it comes out looking neat. I like straight and sharp lines. I love things that are handmade, but I think it just looks more put together when I can get a sharp cut or a straight line, or everything is neatly uniform. It just, for me, the presentation is better. What else was I going to show? So I did 3 layers here. The tulle, I only did 1 single layer with the tulle. You can also use, I prefer using my scalloped circles, but I guess if you have a flower shape or something like that, you can use whatever dye you want it to. So with those, I just think they come out so cute, and it adds a little bit of dimension, and then you can layer them however you wish to layer them. And I think this came out so cute. That's my little bow angel. But I like the dimension that it gives. Then, as I was playing with these, I decided to do different colored layers. So here I used mint, yellow, and white. And again, this one isn't cut. This one I haven't put through the die machine, the die cutting machine. I just sewed them together. I made the rosette. you separate your layers. And again, to me, I think that's the most fidgety, part, when you have to separate the layers. But I think that's so cute with the different colors. And I did them in pink, white, and mint. And really, okay, I did this because I thought, oh, do the different colored layers, because I don't know if I have one. I thought I had another one that was cut already. Okay, so this is the pink, white, and mint, and you can see it's flattened because I put it through the die cut machine. I put it through my Sizzix Big Shot. And once you get the feel of it, it really doesn't take that long. I just have to remember not to be so heavy-handed and rip my crepe paper as I'm trying to separate the layers. So after I did that, when I was playing with them, just with using the one color, I said, and I'm sure you've seen people do this before, but to me it's just an easier way. So I kind of have a carnation, which is why I say, oh, I can just layer the colors, and this way when I fold it together, I have a carnation, with different colors in it. And I was supposed to have a sample of a topper, a bag topper, where I don't have the sample, to glue these down like onto a topper. But I think that's so cute. It's just for me, it's an easier, more uniform way to make one of those little crepe carnation flowers. Then I also, when I fold it in half, it reminds me of like a little, it's a skirt. It reminds me of one of those, like, what am I thinking of? The flamenco, the dancers in Spain, those little skirts. And so I'm gonna have to play around. I might come back and add to this video, but to play around, I figured if I would stamp something. Oh, you know what? Even the little angel, if you can see, like, it's, if you fold it in half, it's like a little skirt. And I did have another idea to stamp out, an image and then adhere the skirt down onto the stamped image. So that's my little process video for these rosettes. Hopefully I gave you a little inspiration or an idea or an easier way, just to get your rosettes a little bit more dimensional and cut in a more uniform, more sharp, uniform shape for the rosette. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.